Hi, my name's Sharon Jeffus, and today we're going to have so much fun with animals and ships of the ocean. And our artist that we're featuring is Winslow Homer, and we're going to do some really fun art projects. So we're going to start with our PowerPoint to get inspired by the different animals in the ocean. When you are doing this, if you see this PowerPoint and the Wikipedia has a list of whale songs. Can fish really sing? Yes, they can, and you can listen to them on the computer. The first picture we're going to look at is a picture by Winslow Homer. And as you can see, there's a boat in the front of the picture and a boat way in the distance. And what do you think the man is has got in the boat? What do you see in the boat? And we're going to talk about foreground and background. Things in the foreground are larger, and way on the horizon line, things in the background are smaller, and the ship looks very, very small. Breezing Up is a very, very famous Winslow Homer picture. We have the boys in the boat that it looks like it's just sailing. We have diagonal lines in the picture, and diagonal lines show movement. Way in the distance, again, in the background, we can see the boat. Doesn't that look like lots of fun? We're going to look at a tall ship. Now, long ago, there were tall ships. There were treasures on the tall ships, and the sailors would sail on these beautiful, beautiful tall ships. We're going to learn how to do a tall ship today. This is a photograph of a tall ship. And in the background, you can see the very, very small boats. And finally, this picture is called Storm Rising at Sea by the great American artist, Washington Allston. As you can see, the boat in the foreground looks like it's about to go all the way into the water. And way in the distance, we see a tall ship. Now, tall ships are very, very easy to draw. We talked about this in our live workshop. You use horizontal, vertical, and diagonal lines to draw a tall ship. A really fun way to do this is to take, and we're going to look at this just a moment. As you can see in these pictures, we have a tall ship that we've drawn, and we have a lighthouse. And I used blue paper. Oh, water is not always the same color of blue. And I used blue paper to make it look more like the water of the ocean. You can put a darker blue in the foreground or a lighter blue in the foreground. And we also have a beautiful lighthouse. When you draw a tall ship, you start out with 3 vertical lines. You make your base, and your base is just 2 diagonal lines and a horizontal line, 3 vertical lines, and then you put your ships, you put your sails on the vertical lines, and you have a tall ship. Now, if you want to make another tall ship in the distance, all you have to do is make it just a little bit smaller. Now, another thing we want to talk about is we're going to talk about a lighthouse. And the way that you make, I always say with a lighthouse, it's sort of like when the number 11 wobbles in a little bit. But there were storms at sea. And of course, you'd have the wonderful lighthouse, and then you would have the ship. And it's just like Jesus is a lighthouse full of light. There's some people that are just so happy and full of light. And in the same way, the tall ships look for the light in the lighthouses, and they would want to know where this was so their ship wouldn't crash on the rocks. And so again, lighthouses were really, really, really important. We're going to go back to our picture and look again at our lighthouses. So that's our tall ship. Now, if you're a little older and you want to spend more time, you can make the banisters or the circles where they put the cannons in the tall ships. But as you can see, a lighthouse is sort of wobbles in a little bit. If you have black paper and white chalk, you can do a storm picture and you can have the beautiful light, the radial lines coming out from the light that is at the lighthouse. You could even put a ladder on your lighthouse. But again, tall ships and lighthouses were things of history. Today we can visit lighthouses and they're really wonderful to visit, but they're not really used to rescue boats much anymore. If you're a Paw Patrol fan, I know that they've got something like a lighthouse, as my granddaughter loves that. This picture is called Summer Squall. And again, with Winslow Homer, you see the boat way, way in the background being blown in the wind. And this is a very, very famous picture by Mary Cassatt. Have you gone on the beach? Do you love to go on the beach? And do you love to swim? Mary Cassatt was an artist that she was a very famous female artist, and she loved to do pictures of children and mothers. And if you look at this, little children on the beach might be dressed this way 100 years ago. We wouldn't see them dressed this way today, but we would then. And if you look way, way, way in the horizon line, we see the boats. But what do we see under the sea? We see a beautiful, 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 when we get the ocean, we can see for miles. But if you're a scuba diver or you know what God's wonderful creations are under the sea, it's so amazing. There are many beautiful kinds of plants under the sea. And I showed everybody how to make kelp. If you want to put under your sea, under your ocean, if you want to make a little picture of, let's say, seaweed. So you make the letter Y, and you might want to make several different Ys, and then just take and cross it with your little lines, and you could have some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful seaweed. Now that was very, very easy to make. Coral is another thing. And you know, texture is how something feels. Would you see a plant like this in your house? Can you imagine if your mommy would water some coral? Oh my goodness. Well, coral lives underwater all the time. And look how beautiful and colorful the coral is. An octopus. Did you know an octopus can actually change color? This gentleman octopus looks like he might have actually be embarrassed, turned red. But isn't that a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful creature? Dolphins are very, very popular with people and very famous, and people love dolphins. And we're going to learn how to draw a dolphin as well. There was a story back when, oh, probably a long time ago, about 20 years ago, about how this little boy had fallen off of a boat and had a little inner tube, and a dolphin, some dolphins came and actually rescued him. There's stories like that about dolphins. They're very, very smart. Now, starfish are amazing because if you can you imagine something that beautiful that can move? It would be like you had this beautiful pen and it could move because it's such lovely texture. And again, texture is how something feels. You can create it to look like texture with your markers or with your colors. But if we draw a picture of the ocean together, first we want to start with the bottom of the ocean. That'll be the first thing that we're going to do. And then, of course, we want to do the top of the ocean because we can put animals on the top, or excuse me, a tall ship on the top of the ocean, or maybe a dolphin jumping out of the water. And when we draw these different fish, I started today with our live class and showed children how to do these animals step by step. But I probably should show you again step by step. If you take the letter C, and you want to just put some lips on the letter C. And we're going to finish it off so it almost looks like a circle. But we're going to use triangles. We're going to put a triangle here and a triangle here and a triangle here. And we're going to put an eye on it, and then we're going to give it stripes. A pattern is a repeated design. And just like you can see under the ocean, fish that look like tigers with stripes. You can see a lionfish that almost looks like it has a mane. You can see beautiful, beautiful, beautiful jellyfish. Jellyfish, when you just take and make a letter C like that, and then you want to close it off, and you just put the lines down, you have a beautiful jellyfish. Fish are so much fun to draw. And the amazing thing is that all of these are under the ocean. When you do a starfish, you can do it like that with a circle and triangles. We're mostly making all of these fish just using circles and triangles. But there are other things like when you do the jellyfish, you can actually make a star and make two triangles. You have a star, and then you can turn it, give it lots of texture so that it also will look just a little bit like a jellyfish. But we want to get, excuse, uh, it's like a starfish. And we just want to give it lots and lots and lots of texture. So as we go through the thing, and again, I did these with you step by step if you're in the live class, but I wanted you to have this PowerPoint to use so you could go over it and you could do it again. You can even draw a treasure chest. And you know, when you see these beautiful tall ships, if the lighthouse wasn't able to help the tall ship, then sometimes they would crash on the rocks. And of course, if they had treasure, people look for sunken treasure even today. But you could find perhaps even a treasure chest on the bottom of the ocean. Now, you can cut out a piece of brown paper if you choose to do it and make a treasure chest that opens and that closes if you choose to do that. Or you can just draw the treasure chest step by step, and you can glue things like, oh, maybe little things that look like pearls, or use some glitter. If you want to put some treasure in there, you can certainly do that. So your finished picture, we have a tall ship in the foreground up on top of the water. The tall ship can't even begin to imagine the amazing things on the bottom of the ocean. You can color these beautiful pictures. Be neat, because neatness really counts. Remember that way in the background, there's another ship, and there's all different kinds of, you could put an armada is a group of ships. You could make tall ships. And this is very, very historical. And I think you can go on vacation and even ride in a tall ship even today. Now, hopefully you'll stop this presentation and give yourself time to get things together so that you can work on these projects. Can anybody guess what this is? I bet everybody knows this is a walrus. And can you imagine a walrus? Walrus has tusks that are 3 feet long. Can you imagine brushing teeth that were as big as you? Oh my word. Can you imagine? So just for fun, we're going to do some comic animals and have some fun with it. Now, this particular walrus looks like she's sort of sad. But you know, when you want to draw faces, it's very, very easy. So you can make, I made a comic walrus. Oh, here it is. There you go. And just make the head of the walrus and the body. But when you do a face, you can do eyes, nose, and mouth. And if you look really closely, eyebrows, if you look at this picture closely, eyebrows really make a difference. You could make an angry walrus. You could make a surprised walrus. You could make a happy walrus, all by the expressions in their mouth and their eyes. And when you comic strip art, when you turn something into a cartoon, you use exaggeration to make it funny, and sometimes stereotyping. That would mean that a doctor might wear a stethoscope. A scientist might have a lab coat and boots on. A pirate, we all know when people make comic strip how they dress a pirate, but you could have some fun. Now, I decided in my walrus to make a girl walrus and a singer. So she's singing and she's got a beautiful red bow and she has jewelry on her teeth. And so that's my funny walrus. And I decided to call her Wilhelmina. Just for fun, you can make a man of war jellyfish on the dance floor. So just for fun, there we go. I made my silly jellyfish and I made him be able to dance. And there you see the shoes because he's a dancing jellyfish. Lots and lots of fun. So I hope that you enjoy. You could make an octopus. It's a waiter that could carry lots of trays. There's so many fun things that you could do with this PowerPoint. Again, I wanted to talk to you just a minute before we stop about a paper towel roll, turning it into a sea captain. Now, this sea captain isn't quite done yet. I would want to put a beard on him and use the yarn, and I'll have him done in the next one that you can look at, and a pirate hat. And I'd want him to look like a pirate. But you know what? Back in the day when they had the tall ships, sea captains would use a telescope. And one of my students in second grade said, "Look here, Miss Jeffess, I want to show you something." And I said, "What?" And he said, "I turned my sea captain into a telescope." And I looked in the telescope and they had done a little sea picture and glued it right there. And it was so exciting and fun to see. So anyway, I want to say, have fun with this. And I will see you next time for our jungle art lesson. And you can contact me at visualmanna@gmail.com. I would love to see your work and contact me for questions. Bye.